10 minutes passed. All of the lodge workers and guests had gathered in the lounge downstairs. Well, more accurately, everyone except our dead guest. The only ones who saw it were myself, Mr. Kobayashi, and Mari. He'd driven the others away from the room before they could see it. We hadn't had a chance to explain what we saw, so we only sipped our hot tea in our fright. Irritated, Midori said, "Come on, can't you at least tell us what happened?" I glanced at Mr. Kobayashi, but it looked like he hadn't heard her. Breathing hard, I answered, "He was dead. His severed limbs were scattered there. He was dead." I heard someone gulp. "Severed? What's that supposed to mean?" Midori must have thought it was a bad joke as she pointedly asked me for more details. "Midori, what about it do you not understand?" Before I knew it, my voice cracked as I shouted. "His body parts were scattered about. His head, his arms, his legs, all severed and scattered on the floor." "Oh no." One of the girls screamed and started to cry. I then saw it was Aki. Midori quietly asked, "Was he Mr. Tanaka?" "Yes, I think so. His complexion was completely different, so I couldn't tell for sure, but I think it was him." Suddenly, Midori narrowed her eyes. "Are you sure it wasn't just a very well-made doll? Were it, and that threatening note, both just a prank?" "There's no way you can confuse a person for a doll." I shuddered, remembering how the severed arm poked out of the pile. "But special effects in movies these days are amazing, right? Was it anything like that?" Midori talking like that made me doubt myself. It was a corpse, no doubt about it. It was covered in blood. When Mr. Kobayashi declared that, Aki screamed again. "I knew it. That threatening note was real. I want to go home." Come to think of it, I've heard of this before. It could be a Kamaitachi? I don't know if I'm saying that right. Kamaitachi? Licking his lips, Mr. Mikimoto started to speak. I asked back, "A Kamaitachi?" "Yes, have you heard of it before? There are old stories around here of people's skin or clothes suddenly being cut for no reason. People say this is the work of yokai, known as Kamaitachi. Kamaitachi. I don't even think I'm saying it right. Kamaitachi, which means sickle weasel in Japanese. Mr. Mikimoto quietly said that and looked around at us. After a brief silence, Mr. Kobayashi laughed scornfully. "You're saying it was a Kamaitachi dismembered Mr. Tanaka like that? Don't be ridiculous." Mari also joined in. "Plus, isn't what you call a Kamaitachi a natural phenomenon? I've heard of vacuum pockets that cause cuts like those, but that didn't bother Mr. Mikimoto. That explanation is more or less correct. But regardless of whether it was a yokai or a natural phenomenon, we do know that cuts like those happen," I said. "But even if you've heard of them, cutting skin or clothes, can they dismember a human body like that? If a yokai did that, you can imagine anything at all. Come on, I don't believe in them either, so don't look at me like that. Let's say that it was a natural phenomenon. Listen to how fierce the wind is outside. Don't you think it may not be so mysterious it could make those uncommon frightening vacuum pockets? Winds that could shatter a window and instantly dismember the body of someone standing next to it? Did winds like those blow in this world? Ooh. Plasma. It was because of plasma," Aki shouted after looking so afraid the whole time. Kaiko quizzically asked, "Aki, what do you mean by plasma?" "I don't understand it that well, but I know that has to be it. That's our explanation." It didn't seem at all like it would explain anything, but Aki nodded and looked very sure of herself. "But what about the note? A person had to have written it, right?" "What? But, Distressed after Kanako said that, Aki started to cry again. Unable to bear it any longer, Mr. Koyama cut in. "Tell me, what exactly is this threatening note you were talking about earlier?" Mr. Kobayashi immediately looked at me, but he quickly realized it was too late to keep it a secret now and soon started to explain it. Well, to tell the truth, everyone was speechless for some time after Mr. Kobayashi finished. Mr. Mikimoto muttered something like that. Happened? Sighing, Mr. Koyama grumbled. You have to tell us about things like that. But what's done is done. At any rate, if that's a real dead body up there, we have to contact the police right away. The police? I hadn't even realized something so obvious until now. I must not have been thinking straight because of the bizarre situation we were in. Mr. Kobayashi must have thought the same because he turned around and rushed to the phone. He held the receiver to his ear, but he quickly started pressing the switch hook, which rattled from his irritation. No good. I don't hear anything. The phone is dead. Dang, so we got a dead body and now the phone is dead. The phone lines are out. Mr. Koyama got up and shouted, What? This is awful. Maybe the phone line got cut somewhere. Mr. Kobayashi was almost hatefully staring at the silent phone. The phone wasn't working. It took me a while for the significance of that to really get to me. Because of the dead phone and the blizzard, we couldn't contact the police until at least tomorrow. On top of that, we couldn't escape from here. Mr. Koyama suddenly started to smile. Oh, that reminds me. I should use my cell phone. Dang, he had a cell phone in 1994? That's pretty crazy. But I don't know if that was more common in Japan. I feel like that was still a luxury thing in the early 90s. But I don't know. But Mr. Kobayashi's curtly said, It's pointless, Mr. Koyama. We don't get reception around here. So what are we supposed to do? There's a murderer prowling around here. Ooh. A murderer. Hearing that word caught us all off guard. The bizarreness of the corpse had distracted us from considering this was certainly murder. Instead, we made a fuss of there being a Kamaitachi or plasma. No, maybe we were intentionally trying not to consider that. But it couldn't be an accident or a suicide. Murder was the most natural conclusion. Somebody killed Mr. Tanaka and dismembered his corpse. And as Mr. Koyama said, the weather makes it highly likely that murderer is still nearby. I asked, do you think they could descend the mountain in this weather? Mr. Kobayashi and Toshio shook their heads at about the same time. Toshio replied, I think that's impossible. It's almost a miracle that Mr. Mikimoto arrived here earlier. If you walked, you'd freeze to death. If you drove, at best you'd get stranded, or at worst you'd fall into a river. So you're saying the murderer is trying to hide in this lodge? That there's only option for surviving the blizzard, right? Everyone gasped. Even Aki stopped crying and looked terrified. Toshio angrily stood up. So now what? We have to spend the night with some bastard who chopped up a body like that? You can't be serious. You're right, there's no way I can sleep soundly knowing a murderer may be here. We have to do something. Mr. Koyama strongly agreed. Confused, Mr. Kobayashi asked back, Something? Like what? We have to catch the killer. We can't contact the police, so we have to do it ourselves. Please wait a moment. Mr. Mikimoto's pitiable... I don't even know what that word is. Pitiable? His pitiable voice contrasted with his appearance. A murderer who dismembers their victim's body must be truly heinous. Wouldn't it be better for us to stay together in one place than to hastily make a move on them? Even a vicious criminal wouldn't be able to interfere with this many of us. So you want all of us just to stay awake here the whole night? The killer will just end up killing us all when we do sleep. Mr. Koyama saying something so unthinkable terrified Kanako, Kaiko, and Aki even more. I frantically cut into the conversation. No, nobody is terrible enough to go that far. I think we only need to securely lock our doors and windows. Locking doors and windows? Come on, they've already gone inside, haven't they? Mr. Kobayashi shouted in surprise. They couldn't have. Just when and where did they get in? Mr. Kiyama said, I don't know, but haven't they already gone in here and killed someone without anyone noticing? Looking for the right thing to say, Mr. Kobayashi stammered, but... Mr. Kiyama said, well, that window was shattered, right? Was that how they got inside? Snow doesn't get removed from the back side often, so maybe it wasn't hard for them to get in through a window upstairs. I said what I felt naturally followed that line of thought. If they did get inside through the window, did they also escape out of it? After all, the door was still locked when we checked that room. Mr. Kiyama said, do you know that for sure? The doors here use push-button locks. If they did come in through the window, it'd be enough to push the button and close the door. Maybe they could have hidden in the empty room upstairs, or they went downstairs as we came upstairs. What Mr. Kiyama said about the doors was certainly true. You can lock doors from the inside by closing the door and pushing the button. All the guest room doors in the spur were like that. So because the door was locked, it wasn't impossible for the killer to have escaped through the window. That being said, everyone had just checked their rooms upstairs. It was hard to believe that the killer went downstairs, sneaking past us as we were in the hallway. It was Mari, who had been pale and silent, who said, don't you think everyone should take something to use as a makeshift weapon? I was surprised to hear her suggest it, but yes, we should. For when the time comes, let's prepare ourselves right away. Everyone quickly agreed. However, there were no outright weapons in the spur. In the end, everyone took things like ski poles, fruit knives, or mops. We considered kitchen knives and such to be too dangerous, so we ended up using our least reliable options for weapons. Let's make teams and search everywhere and search every inch of the lodge. Under beds, in closets and bathtubs, anywhere somebody could hide. Before we knew it, Mr. Kiyama had become our leader. After all, he was a company president. All 5 men teamed up, myself, Mr. Mikimoto, Mr. Kobayashi, Mr. Kiyama, and Toshio. The women all sent us off. I wish they'd also sew us some soldiers' charms. Be careful, Mari said just a few words, but they comforted me. Mr. Kobayashi asked nobody in particular, where should we start looking? I said, okay, here we go. We got the first option. I gotta get some tea because my throat is... I've been yapping for so long and for so many words that my throat is scratchy. So I'm gonna make some throat tea. So far, I think... I'm trying to remember who was in the lounge or in the living room when this all happened. The 3 girls they were downstairs. But who knows when the body was killed? You know, maybe the window just smashed naturally on its own. And his body was in there for a while because everybody was upstairs or in a different room for a while. I mean, Mr. Mikimoto showed up. He went upstairs for a bit to get settled down. And then he came downstairs all happily and cheerily. So maybe he showed up, killed the guy, went downstairs, and that was that. Or even... Why? I don't think Mrs. Kiyama was she there? She was there, but she had come from upstairs also. She was also like gone for a while, and she had a sad look on her face before when they had arrived. So I don't know, it could be anybody. It really could be anybody. I mean, he could have killed himself for all we know. We don't know. Oops. I accidentally hit let's start downstairs. I did not mean to do that. That was an accident. I just screwed up everything. Sorry, that was a slightly longer break than anticipated. But anyways. I insisted on that. I didn't even see what the other option was. On the first floor, we rolled out the lounge, the dining hall and kitchen, the staff room for Midori and Toshio, the Kobayashi's room, and what looked like a drawing room. We checked each room one by one. When Mr. Kobayashi grabbed the doorknob, Mr. Mikimoto and I readied our weapons. Okay, I'm going to open it. At the same time we nodded, he opened the door and I hid behind it. Then we went in holding out our ski pole and mop. We did that for every room and searched under the beds. Out of fear that someone could escape if all 5 of us entered a room, only I and Mr. Mikimoto would go inside. It was scary at first, but we became bolder as we kept doing it. Mr. Mikimoto must have felt the same, as his complexion was returning to normal. Whoever they are, the 5 of us can handle them if they show up. Right. There's 5 of us. No sign of anyone on the first floor. Next was the second floor. It felt dangerous because it was the closest so far to the scene of the crime. I wondered if everyone started to think that it wasn't possible for that the killer had gone inside. Completely relaxed, unlike just earlier, we went upstairs. I may not look it, but I did judo in high school. If the killer appears, I'll hold them down with a one-armed shoulder throw until they can't speak. Now that it came to this, Mr. Koyama started saying that. I resisted the urge to say to him, "Then how about you go ahead?" When we came upstairs, we checked the guest rooms in the same way as before. But as we expected, not even a mouse was hiding under the beds or in the closets. Jiru, what about that door? Mr. Koyama pointed at the door at the end of the hallway. That's our closet for cleaning supplies. It's not impossible for someone to hide in it. As we approached, we clearly heard a rustling sound. Everyone froze in place. Mr. Mikimoto looked at me with his eyes open wide. They were practically asking, "Did you hear that?" Gulping, I nodded. My hands holding the ski pole were getting sweaty. Mr. Kobayashi grabbed the knob, but looked at everyone. Myself, Mr. Mikimoto, Toshio, and standing back a little, Mr. Koyama. The 4 of us nodded at the same time. At that instant, we thought we heard a thump, and the door flung open as a black shadow came flying out. Ooh. Kitty. A cat. Toshio said, "Oh, it's Jenny." So that's where she was. Jenny. She's the lodge's cat. I was wondering where she went since I hadn't seen her. The whole time she was in here. Returning to the lounge, I asked Mr. Kobayashi, are there no other rooms? After thinking a little, he answered, "There's only the wine cellar left, but it's locked." Well, that's unfortunate. Nobody was there in the end. I even thought of giving them a taste of my Jigoku Garama judo throw. Mr. Koyama rubbed his hands together in frustration. As usual, he was all bark and no bite. Dang. When we returned to the lounge, Mrs. Kobayashi had brought out some coffee for us. Nobody was there, huh? Mari could tell just from the look on my face. So in the end, they must have escaped outside. Toshio replied, I missed what it said. Everyone had a complex expression of both relief and anxiety. I suppose it was only natural. We were in no danger for now, but we still couldn't be sure if there really was nobody hiding somewhere. Plus, even if they aren't here now, they might still come in later tonight. And no matter how tightly we locked the doors, they could simply come in by breaking another window. Wait. I suddenly had my doubts. We had assumed from the beginning that the killer had broken the window to get in. But was that really true? Could the killer have entered the lodge even earlier than we thought? I realized that one of us had no alibi. Oh! I'm choosing that one. I realized that one of us had no alibi. There was only one person who was not in the lounge when we heard the glass shatter. The man drinking his hot coffee next to me. Toshio. He could have killed Mr. Tanaka. I stealthily glanced at his face. The bright college student who loved to ski. Was that all just a ruse? Something wrong? Toshio looked back at me. No, oh, some sugar? Sorry. He handed a pot of sugar to me. Thanks. All I could do was take it and put in some in my coffee. Looks like he misunderstood the meaning behind my gaze. Could this decent-looking guy be a killer? No. No matter the situation, there was no way he killed someone and dismembered their body like that. But why not? Why? Why? So as we thought, the killer had escaped outside. They must be a criminal to the core, not connected to anyone here. But why are you saying why? Why do you think that? Right, maybe someone like another Yakuza had killed Mr. Tanaka. I try to force myself to believe that. But still, like, why don't you ask? Why, like, you have the opportunity right there to bring it up while everyone is around. And say, hey, what were you doing? What was you doing when the guy got killed? Suddenly, Mr. Kobayashi stood up. I asked, what's the matter? I'm going to check outside. Outside? Why outside? There might be tracks outside, like footprints or tire tracks. Toshio shook his head. Even if tracks were out there, they'd have already disappeared in all the snow. Maybe so, but even if the killer may have already returned here, we can't just sit around and do nothing. Mr. Kobayashi spoke unpleasantly. I'll go with you, I stood up. Wanting to stay by Mari's side, I stayed silent. Oh, man. Like, this is a good opportunity to prove myself to my girlfriend's uncle. But also, I could be sitting next to a killer right now, and I'm about to leave my girlfriend with that killer. So that's kind of a tough decision to make. But I don't think this game is that serious. Oh, man. I don't want to leave her, though. I'm gonna stay by Mari's side. Toshio sarcastically said, won't you come too, Mr. Koyama? Didn't you say you'd do your Jigoku Gurama if we ran into the killer outside? Right. But I don't do well in the cold. If you find them, chase them inside so I can give them a taste of my Tsubame Gashi. This guy could weasel out of anything. Plus, I thought the Tsubame, I don't even know how to say these words, wasn't a judo technique. In the end, Mr. Kobayashi, Toshio, and Mr. Mikimoto went outside. They changed in their rooms and came back down after about 5 minutes. We anxiously saw them off as they left with their weapons. Mari unpleasantly muttered, will they be okay? What do you mean? If the killer is still around here, they'll be fine. There's no way the killer's enduring this blizzard out there. They'd have escaped already. I hope so. Saying all this made me more anxious just sitting around waiting inside. I even started to think I might have felt much better had I gone outside. Oh, that's it. Suddenly, Mr. Koyama stood up. I should try to see if my cell phone might work. I remembered Mr. Kobayashi saying it wouldn't, but I wasn't going to butt in. When Mr. Koyama went upstairs, I was the only man left. Mari suddenly listened closely. Did you hear something just now? Huh? What? Like a person screaming? No, I must be hearing things. I'm sure that's it. What the? Oh, we're going to use the bathroom. Aki said that and went upstairs with Kanako and Kaiko. What the? Once we couldn't see them anymore, we heard a bell echoing from somewhere. Oh, is something at the back door? Mrs. Kobayashi ran off with a pitter-patter of footsteps. Mari and I looked at each other, stood up, and ran after her. I had a feeling something bad happened. When we arrived at the back door, Mrs. Kobayashi just nervously opened it. The snow and wind blew in along with a huge clump of snow rolling inside. Oh no! Mrs. Kobayashi couldn't hold back from screaming. When we calmed down and looked more closely, it was Mr. Kobayashi and the others. Covered in snow, they looked like a pile of Japanese dumplings. Mr. Kobayashi faintly said, "Please, hurry and get him first aid." "Blood?" Mari pointed and screamed. Sure enough, bright red blood was sticking to Mr. Mikimoto's temple. Mrs. Kobayashi recovered from her shock and quickly started giving orders. "Let's carry him to a bed for now." Midori, get the first aid kit ready. "Toru, help me carry him there. Make sure he makes no sudden movements." Mr. Kobayashi and I carried Mr. Mikimoto on our shoulders to his room upstairs. We got off his coat and laid him on the bed. Midori and Mrs. Kobayashi came with the first aid kit, skillfully disinfected the wound and wrapped gauze around it. There seemed to be nothing more I could do, so I left the room. "Well, what happened?" I happened to meet Mr. Kayama in the hallway, so we chatted as we went downstairs together. "Oh, how was it with your phone, Mr. Kayama?" "Phone? Oh, my cell phone? No good at all. It was just as Jiro had said." "I see." There were just Mari and Mrs. Kayama worriedly sitting in the lounge. Mrs. Kayama asked, "How was he?" She must be talking about Mr. Mikimoto. "I don't know." "What's wrong? Something happened?" It looked like Mr. Kayama didn't know anything. "Somebody attacked Mr. Mikimoto." "What did you say?" "Who do you mean, somebody? Did they escape?" Yeah. The only one who saw them was Mr. Mikimoto." Mari and Mrs. Kayama were listening carefully but anxiously. "Then, are his injuries serious, or did he already..." It seemed like he stopped himself from finishing with "die." "I don't know. The Kobayashis and Midori should be checking his injuries now." Saying that, I looked up. Don't tell me the killer will get us one by one. Not a chance. There goes that middle-aged guy with his crazy talk again. Just then, Mari and Mrs. Kayama looked frightened. You can't be serious. Why would you say something like that?" "But if they did kill everyone, couldn't they leisurely wait out the blizzard? Since nobody would notice the police, they could even take their time finding a way to escape." It definitely was as he said. Escaping into this blizzard would be a death wish, but if they could hide and wait for someone to appear outside, I could believe it. Maybe Mr. Mikimoto simply happened to be the first one they saw. Grimacing, Mari screamed, "No! How can you say such a horrible thing?" Even though I was starting to half believe it was possible, I tried to comfort her by saying, "We don't know that for sure." I continued, "Even if Mr. Kayama is right, we'll be fine if we don't go outside. We must stay together as much as we can and not go anywhere alone." But my attempt to reassure her seemed to have failed. "You say all that, but how do we call for help if the phone doesn't work or if we can't go outside? At any rate, we'll be fine if we hold out until morning. You couldn't survive until morning in that blizzard outside. Then wouldn't they be even more desperate to come attack us?" The Kobayashis came downstairs just as Mari said that. "Oh, what's Mr. Mikimoto's condition?" "For now he is awake, but..." Mr. Kobayashi's grim expression made me think Mr. Mikimoto was in serious condition, but that wasn't why he looked like that. It looks like he didn't see anything. He was suddenly attacked. His expression seemed to be from how we knew nothing more about the killer. How did it happen? There's nothing out there but that blizzard. Anyway, as soon as we went outside, I ended up losing sight of Mr. Mikimoto and Toshio. The next time I found them, he had collapsed. Lost sight of them right away, so then the only other one with Mr. Mikimoto when he was attacked was Toshio. No way, did he attack him from behind? Hiding my rising doubts, I asked Mr. Kobayashi, "So then will he be okay?" "Well, he said that he was dizzy, so it's possible he had a concussion. However, we won't know for sure without a doctor. At least it doesn't look like he had a cracked skull." Alright, it's freaking Toshio. Alright, at least the game is making us believe that it is. I mean, I don't understand why our guy, Toru, didn't ask him, like, what were you doing when the Yakuza was killed? Like, we should have confronted him. And now for this to happen? He's up to something, man. Mari was hung up. And when we saw him earlier, I was sure I saw his head bleeding. Was it on his left or right side? Mari was hung up on something strange, which... It was his right temple, but why do you ask that? Thinking for a while, Mari started to mutter. If he was hit from behind on the right temple, then the killer must be right-handed. As Mari was saying that, Toshio came over to us. Mr. Kobayashi, how are Mr. Mikimoto's injuries? He sat on the sofa. They may not look serious to the untrained eye, but we cannot rest easy until tomorrow morning, because he may have a hemorrhage and suddenly die. Then did he see the killer's face? No, he didn't. Toshio looked relieved, or was it just my imagination? I see, but now the killer has exposed some of their behavior. We should all try to stay together as much as... Oh. Toshio briefly stopped talking and looked around. Where are those girls? I don't see Midori either. Mr. Kobayashi replied, I thought Midori had come downstairs first. But those girls are very late if they are just using the bathroom. I thought it was unusual since they went together. Mari corrected what her uncle had said. Midori hasn't come down yet. Isn't she still upstairs? I definitely hadn't seen Midori come down yet either. She hasn't come down yet? You don't mean she went to that room with the body? Looking at Mr. Kobayashi's cloudy facial expression, I asked, the room with the body? Why would she? She said there was something bothering her. I kept her from going in since I didn't want her to see the body. Toshio stood up after he said, I'll call her for her. I didn't show it, but internally I was panicking. Was it really okay to let him go upstairs alone? That being said, I couldn't bring myself to go with him either. What the heck should I do? Mari said, I'll go. Those girls may be sleeping. As I was hesitating, Mari stood up. Just when I felt relieved, another new doubt sprang up. Should I go with her, or should I keep an eye on Toshio? But ignoring my hesitation, Mari briskly went upstairs. Just then I imagined something frightening. I was under the impression the killer may have seen Mr. Mikimoto's face. Then they came back to deal the finishing blow. What if Mari happened to run into them when she went upstairs? She was in danger. Mari! What is it, Toru? When Mr. Kobayashi asked me that, I realized that I was standing up. No, it's nothing. As I debated whether or not I should check upstairs, Mari quickly came downstairs. What did you find out? Well, those three girls said the three of them should be alone, and that they couldn't trust anyone else. What did they mean by can't trust anyone else? When Mr. Kobayashi asked that back in surprise, Mari answered, but with difficulty. They seem to think the killer may be one of us. Only the Kobayashis and Mrs. Koyama looked surprised when they heard this. Maybe everyone else had considered that possibility even a little. Mr. Kobayashi forcefully said, almost spitting it out, That's ridiculous. Why would someone murder people they've never met or seen before? Because they're psychopaths, man. How do you know they've never met or seen each other? Mr. Koyama, don't tell me that you... No, I didn't do it. But we have no proof that I, or anyone else here didn't know the killer. It's possible one of us knew them. Mr. Kobayashi looked around at us as if he was being chased. Not you too. Were any of you thinking that? Thinking that the killer did not escape us outside and might be one of us? I nodded, trying to not look at Toshio. It seemed difficult for Mr. Kobayashi to accept that. But that's impossible. After all, think about it. Who of us had the chance to do that? How long would it have taken to kill someone and dismember their body like that? After thinking about it for a moment, I said, would they be able to if they had about 30 minutes? I carelessly said about 10 minutes. I tried carefully simulating it in my head. I have no idea. I mean, I have no idea how long it would take, but I guess carelessly saying about 10 minutes. I didn't want to think about it too deeply. That's impossible no matter how you look at it. Even if they were efficient, wouldn't it take about 30 minutes? Everyone nodded when Mr. Kobayashi said that. Well, maybe that could be possible. Was there anyone who had that kind of time after dinner? I, Kyoku, Maduri, and Toshio were busy cleaning up. You all should mostly have been here. Doesn't it seem the most natural to blame someone who isn't one of us? Someone we didn't see when the glass shattered? Until now, I was doubting Toshio only because of that. However, if you thought about it, it definitely seemed that nobody had the time to dismember the body. Dinner was finished at about 8 p.m. When we left the dining room, Kanako, Kaiko, and Aiki were making a fuss about that threatening note. After that, the Kiyamas came downstairs to join the Kobayashis and the three girls. Then Mr. Mikimoto arrived late at about 8:30 p.m. After this, everyone except Toshio was in the lounge when the incident occurred. Thinking about it this way, it seemed that, as I thought, Toshio could have barely had the chance to commit the crime. However, I purposely stopped myself from saying it. Oh! Suddenly I realized that we all had missed an important detail. Please wait a moment. Mr. Kobayashi, you said just now that nobody here could have had the time to dismember the body like that. So then just when did the killer commit the crime? When did they enter the lodge, and when did they kill Mr. Tanaka? Perplexed, Mr. Kobayashi answered, when? I don't know that. Then apart from the time, where did they enter? The windows were all shut tight. If they had come in through the proper entrances, they would have caught someone's attention. Mrs. Kobayashi asked in surprise, didn't they break that window upstairs to come in? Did we hear the glass shatter right before we discovered the body? Until we stepped into that room, at most 15 minutes had passed. No matter how you look at it, there's no way they could have dismembered the body like that. That much is true. Then perhaps they didn't break a window when they entered the lodge. Without breaking a window? I didn't understand what Mrs. Kobayashi was saying. Right, that person may have opened the window and let them in, Mr. Tanaka. The victim let the killer in? It was an absurd thought, but it wasn't impossible. Naturally, the killer would have to be acquainted with the victim. If the victim didn't know that they'd be killed, it was possible enough. When the killer stealthily came in through the window, maybe they were planning to join the victim to do something awful. Then they had a falling out? Ah, come on now. I don't know about all that. So then when the killer entered, isn't the issue here could be before or after dinner? Now we can say there was enough time for the killer to dismember Mr. Tanaka after he returned to his room. I felt like I heard a sense of relief in Toshio's voice. Did he know that I was doubting him? Come to think of it, Toshio restlessly looked around like he suddenly remembered something. Where's Midori? What happened to her? Oh. Mari brought her hand to her mouth and stood up. I forgot to say, but I didn't find Midori. I really didn't want to go into that room with the body. I tried calling to her, but no reply. Everyone looked at each other. If the killer came in through a window upstairs, it's possible they'd do it again. The glass is already broken. When I spoke quietly, Mr. Kobayashi was speechless. It can't be. Not Midori, too. Uninvited, Mr. Koyama cut in. So we'd better search for her. If we don't hurry, she may be dismembered herself. How can you say such a horrible thing? Horrible thing. As I expect of him, Mr. Kobayashi rose his voice. Toshio said, but we really need to find her soon and all stay together. Same for those 3 girls. Even I agreed with him. Let's go search all together so we won't get split up. Mr. Kobayashi thought about it a little and nodded. Very well, then I'm sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Koyama, but will you please come upstairs with the rest of us? Alright, let's go. We again brought our weapons just in case and went upstairs all together. We were pushing and shoving on the narrow stairs. Everyone surrounded Mr. Kobayashi as we stood in front of Mr. Tanaka's room. He tried to open the door but hesitated for a moment. Most likely he didn't want to get anywhere near the body. Trying to urge himself on, he asked Mari, "You only called for her in this room?" When she nodded, Mr. Kobayashi turned the knob as if he had no choice now. A frigid air flowed out of it. "Midori, are you in here?" All that came back was the roar of the wind. Holding his ski pole, Mr. Kobayashi peeked into the bathroom. We watched over him from the entrance. Once he looked where that frightening corpse was, he immediately came back. "Yep, looks like no one's here." "Mr. Kobayashi, over here," Toshio called out to him from the hallway. "What is it?" "Jenny is." Toshio pointed to the end of the hallway. It was that storage room we checked earlier. The black cat Jenny was meowing in front of it. Mr. Kobayashi silently started walking. Jenny noticed us. She started meowing even more incessantly. Mr. Kobayashi grabbed the doorknob but hesitated for some reason. Mr. Kiyama grumbled, "What's the matter? It's just a cat meowing. We already checked there earlier." But nobody was listening to him.